everybody to the Meet the Candidates Forum. I appreciate your time on a Sunday afternoon, let alone the Lions Sunday, right? Okay, so we will pay off our business to hopefully get you home maybe by just after halftime. So
DVR is going.
okay, perfect. This forum is hosted by township residents for township residents. This is not supported by any candidate or any candidate's committee. I'm obligated to say that. If you read the laws of voting and all that. So we are very happy that you stopped in to join us. I'd like to introduce you, or to thank Barb Leonard for really getting some of the logistics set up for this event. I appreciate that so much. I'm going to be your moderator. My name is Linda Horak, and I especially would like to thank the Crystal Congregational Church for their support in offering their space. I know Pastor told me that when he reached out to his board members, they were very enthusiastic about this type of event happening. So thank you so much, Pastor. I'd also like to thank local businesses who allowed information to be available at their locations, and to all the Crystal-related Facebook pages for helping spread the word about this meeting. Today we're here to introduce the candidates to you and help you make an informed decision when you vote. We have 3 set questions that each candidate will be asked to answer. They've been provided those and they have those. Following that, we will have an opportunity for your questions to be answered. On your tables, you'll find note cards and pens to write those down. As you think of your questions or have them formulated, if you want to pass them forward, and I'll collect those and we'll ask them of the candidates. I'd like to thank the candidates who have made time to be here today, and to those who provided a paragraph or 2 in their absence. Some were not able to make it. We do want to focus on the election and making an informed decision. We will not be looking at specific decisions made by the township board throughout the years. I know we have a tendency to look backwards, but we're going to look forwards. This is not the correct forum to look at those decisions. If you would like to take those issues up, please attend the township meeting. They're open to the public on the 3rd Wednesday of every month. 3rd Wednesday, right? Second Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. No wonder why I miss it. No, you can also address any of those specific concerns with folks in office. They do have their contact information online, so I would encourage you to do that if you had some direct questions about recent or long-term decisions that have happened. We're looking forward. We're looking to help you make an informed decision about who you'd like to see come into office. We have invited County Commissioner Chris Johnston. He sent his regrets yesterday. He wasn't going to attend, but a family event happened to come up. He did send some words. We've invited Township Supervisor candidates Kurt McCracken and Sarah Daly, Township Treasurer candidates Nancy Johnson and Alicia Little. We've invited the Township Clerk candidate Betty Baker Merrick, and 3 of the trustees that are running. There's 2 openings for your information. We've invited Sherry Cutt, Vera Bogart, and David White. Several of those candidates obviously are not here, and they have sent some words for me to read about them, and I'll do that as we go through the list. I will start with Chris Johnson because I was kind of going off the list that we had on the poster. I will tell you the 3 questions that every candidate was asked to come prepared to answer. A brief introduction and describe what skills and talents you bring to the office you are seeking. What top 2 issues do you feel the township is facing today, and how would you address those issues? And the 3rd question was, what achievements are you most proud of related to the office you were seeking? I thought these were questions that would help people understand their candidates and help them make decisions. Chris is our county commissioner. Chris underestimated himself in his words a little bit. He wrote, "I don't feel I have any special talents, but I'm just real interested in county budget and how tax money is spent." I will point out he was first appointed in November of 2018, and he serves Bloomer Township, City of Carson City, Crystal Township, Day Township, Evergreen Township, on the north side of Holland Lake Road North, and Ferris Township. The second question, he did indicate, since he's not running for a township-based position, he did not feel comfortable answering about the issues facing Crystal Township. And the third question, he has stated, I am most proud of our fiscal responsibility. In 2015, the county had almost a zero fund balance, and today we have approximately 112% of our annual budget, and we were able to reduce the county operating millage for this year. I believe the recommended amount for counties to have in reserves is about 50%. And don't quote me on that because I'm not sure. It's been a long time since I've operated in county government, but I know that that's quite high based on the generally accepted standards. That is Chris. Okay. The next on us was our township supervisors. We have Sarah Daly with us today. Kurt McCracken did decline. He already had a funeral planned for today and was unable to attend. And he did not send anything to be read. So, Sarah, I will turn it over to you to answer the 3 questions. And do you remember them, or do I have to ask them over?
That's what I have in my little tiny piece of paper right here.
Okay, there you go.
Introduction, I'm Sarah. I'm a transplant. I married a longtime summer person, the Dailies, over by the golf course, and started coming to township meetings because I was really curious about how things worked here. I've lived in City Grand Rapids, City Kalamazoo. I grew up one of 2 houses on a gravel road country block as the daughter of a farmer. So I'm really used to rural areas, but then through my life I've picked up tools from cities and suburban areas. So that, to me, gives me a perspective that isn't seen by someone who has only been in Crystal their entire life. Like, you learn things from other people when you are uncomfortable. When I moved from the country to the city, that was downtown Grand Rapids. That is way different than 2 houses in a country block. And I had to do things on my own, and I had to learn to fit in where I get in. And to do that, you need to know how the structures work. So when I asked about structures within this township, I got a bunch of blank looks. And that really made me go further digging on, okay, I'm pretty familiar with rural structures, I'm pretty familiar with city structures. Why is it so different here? And the difference from where I grew up, which is Geneva Township, Van Buren County, multi-generation farm family, they have ordinances that they actually enforce there. And they have stayed away from zoning. So I know that you can look at growth not in a zoning city way, but in a way that makes sense to folks in the country, for the folks in the country. We also owned a gas station convenience store that was in trouble with tons of regulatory agencies. Didn't know that when we bought it because it appeared functional. Well, then we learned, okay, we need to now dig down through this and tap into some people who are experts in their field and get ourselves at a baseline so the business side would run right. And as someone not from here, that is what this place appears to me. We need to get on the running right track.
And what is your name again?
Sarah Daly.
Sarah's running for township supervisor. Thank you, Sarah. The next office that we had on our list was the office of township treasurer. Nancy Johnson joins us as the incumbent, and I'll turn it over to you, Nancy.
Thank you, Linda. Okay, my name is Nancy Johnson. I am your current township treasurer. My skills and talents, well, I have a great knowledge of accounting principles. I actually tutored accounting while I was in college. I have the ability to understand and interpret financial and BS&A reports. And I also know who a taxpayer should go to get a question answered or a problem solved, if possible. Top 2 issues, a mindset that has always been, this is the way we have always done this, and people being unwilling to change that if it's wrong. We need to use our MTA resources. They know how to guide us to the correct way according to the Michigan compiled law, through resolutions, policies, and procedures, and to educate our taxpayers. We definitely need to maintain our township assets. One is the community center, which is in need of a lot of TLC. It was painfully pointed out during a recent meeting how lax we have been on the center's maintenance and at Knoll Park. A large fund balance does not do us any good if we are letting our assets fall into disrepair. We need to make sure we budget enough funds for repairs and maintenance and to use them. What achievements? Recently, I've noticed that the number of people that approach me with a question, they then thank me by saying, I knew if I asked you, I would get an honest answer and be pointed in the right direction. That came from people to me, not me thinking I had done that on my own. I've applied for and have done all the reports on the ARPA funds for the township. Also applied for a grant for the firefighters' equipment. Invested township funds in a short-term CD, which between that CD and the rate we were able to get from our government banking rep on the general account, we earned over $25,000 in interest. And all I did when it came to the government banking rep is I called them to ask some questions, and they said, hey, I'm going to raise your rate right now. So sometimes it's just calling people, it's talking to people, it's listening to people. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Nancy. I will clarify, BSNA is the software system that a great deal of the state, local municipalities and jurisdictions use to manage both their tax base and their assessing, and in some cases even their building permits.
Also accounts payable,
And
payroll,
yeah.
general ledger.
It's a pretty robust,
It's an excellent system.
The second candidate for township treasurer is Alicia Little. Alicia has not been in contact with me and offered any words. I will state that she is currently the township trustee. I believe she was appointed at the same time that Sarah was, when two previous trustees left their positions. Township clerk, Patty Baker Merrick is your incumbent. She has also declined to attend today. She did not send any statements or anything for me to read about her. Trustees, I'll point out that you have two openings for trustee. One, I just lost that one. Anyways, there's two openings and there's three people running. Sherry Coop is one of those candidates, and so I will turn it over to you, Sherry.
Okay, well,
Coot, cut, I'm sorry.
it's actually pronounced coot,
Coot.
yes. I'll answer anything.
Old Coot, no.
What did you say her name is?
Sherry Coot, K-U-T-T. Go ahead, Sherry.
Okay, well, it seems that it's important to tell you where I come from. And I come from about 20 years of summer vacations here with my parents. When I decided to retire, I chose to come back to Crystal because it was my second home. In 2018, I was appointed to the board because of a vacancy that occurred. And I feel like basically, the skills that I used at the time that I was on the board, to get anything passed, it requires first observation, the ability to communicate, and the willingness to do the work necessary to get those things done. I would always present both the problem or the issue and a solution in a manner that was clear and understandable to the other board members. The items I'm referencing are regarding public safety, property preservation, and the enjoyment of our lake and parks, both by residents and visitors. There was a considerable amount of work put into getting them passed, including product research, writing specifications for jobs, soliciting bids, and contract negotiations. And I'll tell you, it took both patience and persistence to get them done due to the lack of the concern by most of the board members for those areas that simply had not been addressed for years. Oh, I thought we were
Top
just
two
going,
issues? No, they've answered all three questions.
oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's
Yeah,
okay.
no, I'll keep going then.
Keep going,
Okay.
Sherry.
I didn't get that because I only answered question one, but yeah, keep going. Okay. The top two issues that I'm looking at today, think the township's facing today is lack of transparency. And for the most recent example of this is when the building on Main Street was listed on the agenda, it simply gave the property address. There wasn't any indication that a purchase of that property was being considered. When something like that occurred, it really blindsides both the board members that aren't aware of that and the people that are in the audience. It prohibits other board members from being able to have the item to consider if this would benefit the entire township. It also doesn't allow the audience to make comments or statements during the first public comment before a vote is taken. This can result in confusion and sometimes angry responses. When the property was discussed, very little justification was stated by those supporting the purchase. All that was said was to provide additional parking and they didn't want a trailer placed there. Adding to the mystery of the need to purchase the property was the DDA donating $10,000 toward that purchase. Ultimately, this is going to cost the township and taxpayers $45,000 for the building and another additional $10,000 to $12,000 for the demolition. When clear, concrete information is not provided, it leads to speculation and confusion. I feel that withholding information is disrespectful to both board members and the public. Now, there are ways that the board can share information with each other prior to the meeting without violating the Open Meetings Act. If an item is to be placed on the agenda, I would like to see information regarding that item to be sent to the other board members so they can have the opportunity to review it and consider and formulate questions prior to the meeting. The agenda that's printed could state 210 Main Street, considering purchase of the property. Meeting attendees then would be able to pose questions during the first public comment, and the board could possibly address those with their explanations during the discussions of that topic. Secondly, I think that concerns me greatly is the lack of community involvement at meetings and voicing their opinions to the board. I've been on the board and I've been in the audience, and I understand why some board discussions or comments from attendees become what sounds like challenges or even disrespect. This also comes from a lack of transparency. People get frustrated when they feel as though they are not being heard or their opinions don't matter. So what's the point of trying, right? I don't know if you realize how influential this community has been in the past by attending a meeting or sending an email. I'm going to take you back to when some of the board members were considering selling the community center to a marijuana processing company. I was on the board during that time, and I received more than 20 emails from community members. I responded to each of them, thanked them, and asked them if they'd like their emails to be read as a public comment. They said yes. After reading just half of them, the supervisor turned to me and said, "That's enough." I'm convinced that your actions persuaded the members of the board who were for the sale not to pursue it. Your collective voices made a difference. The community center is still there. If I'm elected, I hope that we can incorporate your public comments addressed during during the item discussions and be able to have your public comments sent via email read during the correspondence section of the agenda once again. As far as achievements that I'm proud of, I really don't know if I'd like to use the word proud, but I am happy that they occurred. People are no longer tripping on the sidewalk going down to the beach. All of those were fixed. The roof is no longer leaking on the newer section of the community center, and the pickleball court is the most widely used activity seasonally at Knoll Park. I was able to secure the first lease on the old beach area for approximately 1/3 of the cost that they have currently been paying him in the last 4 years. The beach rental brought back people to the lake who hadn't visited for years.
Thank you, Sharon.
Mm-hmm.
A second candidate for trustee is Vera Bogart. Vera sent the following words. I am 66 years old and have been a resident of Crystal for 61 years. For her skills, introduction skills, I am retired from a community action agency where I was lead infant toddler educator. I was with the agency for several years supervising and working alongside other employees. We formed a team to be as efficient as possible to complete short-term and long-term goals with the families we served. I hold a bachelor's degree from Spring Arbor University. My employment for the Community Action Agency has given me a good perspective on community and its needs. The skills I believe I bring to this position are clearly shown in my statement below, having the ability to see a need and the courage to reach out to the entities that make those dreams become a reality. And most importantly, I have proven I can work with others to achieve a common goal. I believe by getting the community at large involved in the dream, the plan we can have a successful outcome. These things happen through common sense, reality, and a desire to work with others in a respectful, cooperative manner. What top 2 issues do you think the township is facing? Here's response. I continue to look into this as I move forward, discovering needs and desires of the community at large. What achievements are you most proud of relating to the office you are seeking? I owned a business in Crystal for approximately 20 years, serving the community as a daycare provider. I still have contact with many of these families on a regular basis as we had a great working relationship and developed close bonds. I served on the board of review in the township for several years. My family and I have been very active in the community along with a great group of volunteers who with much collaboration and personal work started Crystal Clear BMX, a pedal bike BMX track for area youth to be able to race in their own community. The track was affiliated with the National Bicycle League out of Columbus, Ohio. We secured leased property, and before long we had a professional excavator come from the Olympic Training Center in Colorado, to build the track that our local kids designed. Several of our kids raced in national races, and one young lady even went on to race international in Paris. This is something our entire family and many other volunteers working together, and it made it happen for our local youth. Several of our racers were President Cup winners after competing in their home state and receiving first place, which then qualified them to race in Columbus, Ohio against racers from all states. When I first contacted the NBL, which is the National Bicycle League, not the National Baseball League, I honestly thought they were going to shut down the whole plan. However, the president drove to our home to meet with us, and the rest is history. They insured the property for over $1 million, and the process began. After several years of racing, we were presented with the opportunity to host a regional race that brought our attendance of over 500 family members and racers for a weekend of racing right here in Crystal. We were supported by many local businesses and individuals as they gave monetary donations and sponsored trophies. We received this support as our young riders learned valuable lessons, presenting the plan and love of the sport to the locals, who were then willing to back up their desire to have a track in the community. It was a humbling experience to know that leaders, friends, business owners, and financial institutions trusted us with their contributions to follow through with the plan presented to them. What qualifications do you have that would effectively serve and benefit your district if you were elected? I have an understanding of this unique community and the needs and desires of those who choose to live here. Crystal is not a city, it is a small community that expands greatly in the summer months, welcoming all who come to enjoy the lakes, races, quaint shops, and eateries. I believe that what I have just shared about the BMX track shows determination, desire to plan and follow through with necessary steps to make ideas become reality. I believe it shows that I love this community enough to want to serve it in a way that I can make good things happen in this community. And finally, the third trustee that is running is David White. He also was not able to attend but sent words, so I apologize that you have to listen to the aid again. David was born and raised in Crystal Township, and his family has lived here for over 115 years with deep roots in the community and a strong commitment to the future of Crystal. He is currently the president of the Crystal Township Historical Society, which he co-founded in 2011. In 2013, he joined the Duck Lake Improvement Board and continues as vice chair secretary and treasurer until 2023 continued. In 2016, he joined the Crystal Downtown Development Authority and continued as its current chairman. 2018, he acquired the Chemical Bank building and converted it into the Crystal Library facility. Also in 2018, he co-founded Friends of the Crystal Community Library and continues as its current vice president. And also in 2018, he was very busy in 2018, my friends. He acquired the previous library building and converted it to the Crystal Museum, which it continues to be today. My shared goals for the Township Board and Crystal community. Represent the broader community on projects that improve the township as a whole. Complete the implementation of the Parks and Rec plan that will develop the Crystal Township parks into a system that reflect the importance of our lakes and increases the recreational services available to township residents. Work in collaboration with the Downtown Development Authority to eliminate blight within the district and increase the number and types of businesses in Crystal, and work in collaboration with the Chamber of Commerce to support Crystal businesses. He is a graduate of Michigan State University and feels that his education and 40-year career provide him with the opportunity of extensive training in leadership, team building, program management, and the application of technical engineering principles. In my career, I've had the opportunity to apply these skills as a principal team member in making data-driven decisions to ensure the best decision for me. I also have his resume, which I will choose not to read because he's already summarized it in that initial document. Sarah, did you have words to finish
Yes.
your other two questions?
Yes.
Which are the top two issues you feel the township is facing, and what would you address those, and the achievements you're most proud of?
Communication is definitely something that is high on my list. It was high on my list when I was appointed. When I was appointed, there was no website. It was shut down. No one wanted to take it on. They did not care to inform anyone. So the assessor very graciously gave me some rudimentary, here's how you make it function. And that's why we now have notice when we're going to have a special meeting, because when we were in the audience, Sherry, who lives across the street from the community center, we'd call her up and say, go look at the door and see if we have a special meeting today. And that to me was something that was patently absurd. So, like, getting on that website was really high on my priority list. And is it the best? No, it's not. But it is in compliance at this time. And it now has more than it has before. And we now have a board ethics policy that some of our colleagues said, well, who's going to make me? That's not the point of policies, but we have one. So we can look back to it as a framework for how we are supposed to treat each other and our residents who come to us, because it really seems like some people are listened to around here and some people are completely ignored, and that's not okay with me. I have been involved with local government since I was a little kid. My dad was a trustee for 12 years in our home township, and the supervisor of that board was also our 4-H key leader. So it was a nice crossover of people who knew how to have some ability to affect the world that they live in legitimate ways. So communication, huge, huge, huge. Updating our ordinances, if we're going to have them, we need to update them, and we need to have some mechanism of enforcement. And they're pointless to have on our books if we don't. You know, we've got kids jumping off the docks that were kind of a cockamamie plan. Somebody's gonna get hurt at some point. They're not gonna listen to the sign, and we've been told this summer by our Marine Patrol that if we had an ordinance, they could have some teeth and do something with that to improve public safety for our children. To me, that is a huge thing.
She's Sarah Bradley, right?
Sarah Daly.
Daly.
And achievements, I'm glad that website is up, and I'm glad we have some policies. And actually finding out that when I said, how does the authority structure of this township go? to receive blank looks by incumbents of numerous cycles that don't know what the authority structure they are functioning in is frightening to me and completely belies the purpose of local government. Thank you.
Was that the two issues, or was that the achievements?
That was the achievements.
Okay.
Finding out how, yes, we actually do own the sewer. The township is the authority over the sewer.
Okay. I know John circulated a few minutes ago to see if anybody had any questions. Does anybody have a card with a question for us? Because I do have one formulated. Did you have a question on a card?
Well, no, well, kind of. I want to ask a question of the treasurer. Were you the treasurer before, or you're just
I was,
running now?
I was the treasurer, I was, let's see, and
So you've been the treasurer?
on and off. I was not for the year that Kim Seibert was here. I did not run that year. Kim ran and won, and then left a year later.
Well, because, what I'm questioning is, you know, this house that was demolished, it was tore down. From what I understand, they didn't have the money, and then they found the money.
I'm not sure what house you're speaking of, ma'am.
Well, the one that they burned down or whatever they did to it over here. Anyway, what I wanna know is,
Okay.
why didn't the treasurer know
We're not
where the
gonna,
money was?
you are welcome to contact her
So-
individually. This is about the
No, I
election,
know.
you know, things
So,
are going forward.
So my question is, you know, are you gonna try to keep up with the money in the treasury so there's not a snafu again? The best of your ability?
When did this happen?
I am still trying to figure out what house we're speaking of, and as
Well,
far,
I'm not sure if it's the one, see, I'm not positive it's the one that they burned down or just tore down.
Did they just buy it? The one they just
Where?
bought?
Yeah.
okay,
we
that's
have
the
not- It is not.
still standing.
It's still standing, they haven't.
Nor
torn
is
it
it
down.
purchased yet. So those types of questions would be great to bring to your township.
Yeah.
And also, the second thing I wanna say, and then I'm done, is I've gone to township meetings,
Mhm.
and if you don't sit right in the front row, you can't hear
yeah, I've been
You
told people
can't hear
can't
what-
hear me,
what the
I'm
board
sorry.
is saying.
yeah.
So I don't know, I think that needs to be addressed, cause it's kinda frustrating when you're sitting there and you have no clue what they're talking about.
We do have a speaker system, perhaps
Yeah.
we should put it into play.
So that,
I think that'd be
that's
great.
I didn't know that.
Another community member has the following question. What is your vision on our community center? And I'll start on this end with Nancy.
Well, whether or not people know, I actually had gathered bids and we were prepared to tear the old section down. That was stopped. That's fine that that was stopped. That is a very architectural, interesting building, especially if you're in there and you can see all the light coming in. However, we have to maintain it.
Mhm.
The roof is leaking, there is ceiling tiles that are moldy. I just want us to take care of our assets.
Okay. Sherry, what is your vision for the community center?
Well, I think it's a tremendous asset to the community, and so I think to continue to have that available, we do need to definitely do some maintenance on it.
Sarah, what is your vision for the community center?
I defer back to the survey that was done and from the community, and the community sees this community center as kind of a heart. You've still got 8 cap kids going to school there, so, you know, that's a place where those families can access services and kind of becomes a hub. I believe it should stay in the community since that's what the community wants, and before anything gets decided on any of it, I really think it needs to be resurveyed to ensure that is what the community wants. But the lack of care since its receivership by this board is pretty stunning to me, and it's also stunning to read that that's someone's goal, is to get something done, and they have been there for how many cycles? So I'm wondering what finalizing the community center is, if y'all read the daily news, means. Because the people want the community center. The gym is used by our kids all the time. It's used for funerals, you know, it is really an asset, and Crystal Township was lucky to have it donated to them. And it's awful that it has gotten deferred maintenance, because that is a nice building.
Mhm.
And it can be a real asset again in the future, should we get our rentals of that out and transparent to the public. How nice would it be to have a calendar that you knew who was renting it and what was going on there, and oh, I've got a grandson visiting, can I go take him to Taekwondo? That would be lovely.
Are there any more written questions that I can pose? I have one in my hand.
I don't have a written question, I just have a question.
Well, please write it down. While you write, I will read this out. Public Act 233 was signed into law on November 28, 2023. It becomes effective November 29th of this year. Under that act, the Michigan Public Service Commission has a permitting authority for large utility-scale renewable energy projects across Michigan, unless local officials adopt a renewable energy ordinance that is compatible with that public act. I would like to ask each of the candidates, what is your position on having a township or county, because it could be either, ordinance on renewable energy? I'll start on that end this time.
Well, it's up to the voters. You know, should a majority of people in the township or should a majority of people in the county think that, that's the way it should go, and that's what I would facilitate. I would support what the majority will of the voters is.
My answer is gonna be pretty much the same. I really think that the people that are going to be subjected to it should have a decision in that.
There are a lot of online classes that any board member can attend, Zoom or at the live, that will educate us on that, how to do that, how to take care of that. And again, it probably should be out to the taxpayers of this township.
So essentially, you would move an ordinance to be on the ballot with those questions. I mean, essentially, is what you.
Or, as I've said before to people, email every single board member with your feelings.
Yes.
Every single board member has it then, and that's a start. Not everyone can email, but there's several ways to contact people.
I just can't ask it?
No, I'm trying to stay in the rules.
Oh.
Okay. I'm a rule maker and a rule follower. It annoys my bosses to no end. It really does, because I'm like, you can't do that. In this world of crazy, okay, we're not going in the presidential.
No,
That's
I wanna
nothing to
know,
do.
Linda,
Yes.
I wanna
Yes.
know
Yes.
if my people that I'm selecting are sane or not, because
Yes.
let me tell you, some of the stuff I'm hearing around Crystal scares
I do
the
too.
Jesus out of
Okay,
me.
so if you
Thank
don't
you.
mean this in a negative
No,
way.
I just wanna know that we're on,
Okay.
that they're,
Same wavelength,
yeah,
I do too.
Who do you
I just need
believe
to know
is the
this.
president of the United States, and how did he become president?
Joe Biden was elected by a majority of the voters of the United States of America.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yep.
agreed.
That's all I need to know, is that we're not
I was
living
not
up.
going to open a huge can of worms.
I'm not, and I
Okay.
just need to know that
Okay.
people are sane in this town, because I see some
Okay.
insane.
As a follow-up question to the community center, would you each commit to some type of time frame in your visioning of getting that community center up to snuff?
Absolutely.
What time frame?
If
you
I'm
think-
elected,
what's-
within 1 year, it better be on the well way there.
It should be there within 6 months.
I agree completely. We need to do something now.
Does it answer that question for my friends in the audience?
Okay.
Other questions that you want to write down and give to me, because I'm out of rules. It really does annoy my boss. He loves to do nice things for legislators. I'm like, I can't do that.
Good job, Linda.
Okay. Thank you all so much. The candidates will be here if you want to ask them anything directly for a few more minutes. And I really appreciate your time on a
I
Sunday.
just wanna go on record saying it's a shame that some of the others were here. 'Cause
Yeah.
they were some of the ones I wanted to ask some
Yes.
questions of.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, it's a shame that we're almost down to the finish line of the election. I mean, I had my ballot all done except for
Local?
the township level. And so I was just kind of waiting. And thank you very much, all of you folks that did
Yes.
come.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for coming.
It should have been done a long time. It should have been done earlier.
It should have been done by an organization that leads this community, and they chose not to. And so this
And it's
was,
sad.
this was a couple of residents that decided to host it
Yes.
for you.
And
So
I
I'm
appreciate
so glad
that.
you came.
I
We have one more
appreciate
question handed to us regarding policies. Do any of the candidates here feel that there are more that are needed? And if so, maybe what? What those would be? Policies for the board to operate under.
Actually, I think there are a lot more that we're supposed to have, and if we look at our need to know, the MTA classes that we can take online, they outline them, because a lot of our policies, we'll have this one, we don't have the one that grants us permission to do it. Sometimes then you need to.
And
So-
policies are driven kind of by the office holder, like a lot of administrative policies that I believe need attention are kind of a creation between the three administrative offices, which are the supervisor, the clerk, and the treasurer. And each one of those corners needs to work together, so they fit like gears. So those policies work together and push people forward. So if you have one piece of that puzzle that doesn't believe in it, doesn't want to do the work, then it's a little lopsided.
It's a clog.
Great questions. I appreciate everybody. And go Lions.
Hey, Linda,
Question.
We have a written question.
Oh, another written question. Question, do all board members take classes to keep up with their duties?
I do.
yes, since Alicia and I were seated, Nancy and I and Alicia went to conference in April after we were seated in November and realized, oh my goodness, there's a whole lot we need to know. We can get these from MTA online. Let's get the webinars. Let's up our
Now,
educational opportunities at a lesser amount of money than going to conferences and getting a hotel all by yourself and having food and gas the whole way there. So let's get them online, and we have had that, and they are wonderful. I wish it could be mandatory for each office.
MTA is Michigan Township Association, and that is how they view their mission, is to educate, inform, as well as provide services to get public policy instituted in all township municipalities.
There is a public section on their website that has all kinds of educational things for teachers, for residents. You can look at some processes, like, it's a great website.
I'm gonna say that I still think conference is very
So
important.
what
because
is
not-
that website for that?
MTA, Michigan Township Association.
I don't know the address of.
It's amazing, if you can Google it. but-
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can Google Michigan Township Association, it'll take you right there. And I've attended regional meetings, as a vendor for my job, so I've seen some of their training sessions, and they are pretty stellar, and I've seen all sorts of people come to those, it's very interesting.
In addition to those available, MTA I use quite frequently to just get clarification on, hey, are we doing this right? They'll, to
Yeah,
the board
you can
members,
call them, email
you
them.
call them anytime, and they're just amazing. They'll lead you right down the right path.
I'm gonna go back to conference and training. Conference is important. There's a lot of classes there, and then there's the networking with the people in your position in other cities and what they're going through and what's happening. And it can really broaden your horizon on maybe a way to work things better in your township.
More questions, or are we done? Go Lions.
I think Linda wants to watch the game.
I don't. If anybody wants to keep their pen, feel free to. I have an extra